The chats that your information that you're putting in will also show up on the recording so that you can reach out to each other if you'd like to. If there's anything that comes up and you'd like to talk to each other, you'll be able to find the person that you're wanting to find. And like I said, if you would like to turn on a microphone, you're welcome to. Otherwise, the chat box is just fine, and we'll try to keep up with that as well. I am Melissa Linneberger. I'm here at IDEA. I'm a client support specialist. I've been here since August 2013, so almost a year and a half. I work directly with all of our existing clients and also some with new clients. We have 3 different platforms, and we'll go into that in a little bit, but I mainly have been working with people on the paper platform and our legacy IDEA IOL or our IDEA online platform. As more clients are moving over to the IDEA CL platform, I also am starting to work with them. So my knowledge about all 3 is building. Also with me today is Diane Potts, our training and support specialist, and Diane is here waving at you. And she has been here about 4 years, and she mainly also works with paper and IOL clients and can help with any questions you may have on those as well. We work together in a team with Jake Glover. He is the Senior Education Officer here at IDEA, and we also work with the Client Development Specialists. IDEA is a small nonprofit for those of you who are new to us, and we have about 20 to 25 employees total. We serve about 400 institutions, schools across the U.S. We have a few international schools as well. So there are about 5 of us who work with all of you. And Diane does a lot of the training for the online legacy system, and then we both train things like faculty information form completion, which we're starting to call the learning outcomes webinar, or learning objectives webinar, sorry. And then we also do some training for report interpretation. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, it looks like there might be a little bit of audio problems there. If you are not able to get audio, it looks like you might be able to log out and back in, and that might work for you. Okay, great. Good to see that you have that. And if for some reason it doesn't work for you on your end, don't worry, we will be sending this recording out in an email within the next few days. If you have any questions, you're welcome to go ahead and chat those questions as we go. I would like this to be a discussion, but I see that most of you don't have microphones set up. That's fine. We will go ahead and read your questions out loud and read any comments as well. So I don't want to be the only one talking, but I understand that if you don't have a microphone, that'll be me anyway. So I will go ahead and share your information and add input from Diane and I as we go through this. Okay, today's webinar is about the Ssris survey cycle. And when Diane and I sat down to talk about this, like I said, we work with all of our clients through these cycles, but these are really client-driven periods of time. The survey cycles have nothing to do with us in that they're really decided, the timelines are decided on your own campus. We know that every university will have different timelines because you may have 16-week semesters, 15-week, you might have 10-week classes, 8-week classes, 7-week classes, and so on. You might have 2 classes per semester, you might have semesters, trimesters, 414s, whatever you may have there. So we know that everyone is on a different survey cycle, and so that's why we say it's client-driven. We do not give you any deadlines for anything. You make those up on your own campus. There may be online campus training that goes on during these cycles. Each term you might do training once a year or every other year. Again, that's determined on your campus. And some of you have websites on your campus, which you're also welcome to share. If you have a website that you refer your faculty to that is on your university website, you're welcome to put that in the chat as well. I think that's very helpful for others to see. I know a few of you are working on that right now as well, so that would be good for just to share that information. Some of you have policies or procedures that are set that you email out each time. Some of you have policies or procedures that you're in the process of making. So again, this is all very client driven. Another thing that drives the survey cycle is the platform. And we say platform dependent because every survey cycle is different depending on the platform you're using. If you're using paper forms, then you're going to be ordering your paper ahead of time. You're going to be counting those out, making sure everyone has a faculty information form and the number of student forms that they need. You're going to be distributing those. And the timeline for that is going to be totally different for people that are on paper than it will be for someone who is using one of the online platforms. With the online platforms, we have the logistics of setting up your online survey groups each semester, and that may be by term, it may be by department. Everyone does that a little bit differently, and we can talk about that more if you'd like. So if you're doing online, you probably have a lot less logistics on your campus because you're not ordering the paper, sending the paper around, gathering it all at the end. And then with online, you have one or two people working closely together to get the information from the registrar's office, upload all that information in a certain format, and then set your dates for distribution online of the different forms. The survey administration, each of you will probably have different dates for that. For a normal 16-week semester, you will have most likely the last 2 or 3 weeks of the term will be used for your survey administration. And again, timelines are going to depend on what you're doing on your campus. And so the survey administration is going to follow those timelines, but those dates, specific dates, will be chosen on each campus and for each program, however you do it. And I know a lot of times you'll get a lot of faculty input for that. You might have administrators that make those decisions, and the political decision making on that can be lots of fun, we hear. So let's see, the processing of data. This is also a little bit platform dependent because the processing for paper and our legacy online system happens here at IDEA in our processing unit. Those are requested with the processing checklists. And again, this is client driven. And so that is done on your timeline. You can do it right after the semester. You can hold on to it for a month or two until you have every single FIF form, whatever works for you. And so that is platform dependent in that you are going to do what works best depending on the platform you're using, depending on your procedures on your campus. And the IDEA CL processing is a little bit different in that, and it's much quicker because everything is at the end of the survey administration, the surveys close, and within 48 hours, the reports are available. And so you set a date on your campus for when you want the reports to be available to your instructors. And I believe an email can go out letting them know they're available at that time. Okay, Zach says here for the group, I would definitely love to see any knowledge-based libraries you have all built on your institutional websites. We're in the process of trying to make our page more robust. And a little about Zach. Zach is at University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and he's pretty new in his position. We're excited to have him on board. He is working in a position that is dedicated to IDEA on his campus. And so he's working, as he says there, they're working to make their website more robust. And so any advice that you can give him would be great. And I know Edwin at Kettering is also here, and he's doing the same thing. They're looking at different policies and procedures and building a website. I'm sure others of you probably are too. Okay, back to this, the report distribution. This is different as well, depending on what the client needs are and platform dependent. If you're sending out paper reports because you've got paper or our legacy system, you're welcome, Zach. You may send out the actual paper reports, or you may keep those paper reports in an administrative office, and you may send them all out electronically. This is an interesting thing that we don't hear too much about, but we are asked about occasionally. If people are sending out an electronic version or making it accessible, an electronic version of the reports, they may have a system set up to do this on their campus that has a secure access for each department or each dean or each individual instructor. And so that's something that you work with your IT department to do. And I know we have a couple real strong clients who do that already, and at least one that's working toward that at the moment. Along with the processing checklist, we also have the GSR order form for group summary report orders. And we have those that are also, of course, done during processing time, and the reports are distributed along the same timeline typically, but that might not always be the case. With the IDSCL platform, you have unit summary reports, which are similar in that they are built based on how the organizational chart is, pretty much. So all the departments under a college, under administrative offices, that type of thing. And Zach, you might even know more about that than I do. USRs are similar to GSRs, but they're built differently. Okay, Meg, do you offer any assistance in getting the web portion up and running? We use Canvas and would love to move to the web environment, but we don't know quite where to start. We have 2 deans who are ready to pilot. Okay. Meg, are you using only paper at this point? Okay. And what university are you at? Okay, Butler Community College. Yes, we would definitely be happy to talk to you about that. Diane or I can, either of us can talk to you about that. We can talk to you about especially the IDEA online, IDEA powered by Campus Labs, IDEA CL is the one that we would encourage you to go with because of the benefits of that one. And we can talk to you more about that outside of here. We do offer assistance for that. With IDEA CL, we have a way for you to jump right in, and we offer assistance with the normal training that we have for the learning objective selection and report interpretation on that platform. And we also have the Campus Labs folks who will help you with the setup and the administration technology detail part of it. And so they actually will work with you to have trainings and phone calls and go to meetings for that specific platform. And so we can talk to you about the 2 platforms anytime you'd like. We can set up a meeting for that. And so what I'm saying is, yeah, we're going to support you whichever platform you're on. We're going to help you find what's best for you and move forward with that. And we're going to help you with any training needs you might have. And you can reach out to us anytime. Diane and I are here and available anytime anyone wants to talk, and so are our coworkers. You're welcome. Okay. Not sure. There we go. Okay. Some of the resources we have here at IDEA, as I said, we do offer training and webinars, and the 2 top webinars we do are the learning objective selection and the report interpretation. We also can do getting to know IDEA for new faculty, or if it's a new school altogether, we can give you getting to know type webinar for your entire faculty or a group. And we do record these just like I am recording today so that you can go back and share that with your campus and anyone who's not able to attend. There is training for the online systems, both online systems. We have Diane here in our office to train for the legacy system, and then we have the Campus Lab folks for the IDEA CL platform. And then we offer campus visits. Oh, let me say that all the training is free. That's part of what you're paying for with the forms that you order, with the processing and all that. We're, like I said, we're a nonprofit, so we're going to do anything we can to help you in that way. And those were all free. The campus visits are typically $1,000 for the consulting fee plus travel arrangements, flights, hotels, transportation. So that's a low cost for a campus visit. And on a campus visit, you can have us show up and we can do the same training webinars that we do, but we'll do them in person. Either Jake or Ken, our president, or one of our other consultants will show up at your campus. They can meet with different constituent groups. They can meet with different administrators. They can meet with your faculty, faculty unions, faculty senate, whatever you may need. And they can, like I said, make those different presentations. They can introduce you to the new IDEA CL platform and show screenshots of that and answer any questions you might have at that time. Usually a campus visit is a day or two, so anything that you want to cram into that time, they're definitely willing to do everything they can for you when they're on your campus, because that's one of the best things you can do is actually have one of us come to your campus and meet with you in person. I think it goes a long way with the faculty. Our website has a lot of resources. If you're not familiar with it, I suggest going on there and just putting anything in the search box, because you can find anything you need there. If there's anything specific you want, you can ask us about it and we'll find it for you and we'll give you the information. A lot of the times when you call us, the first thing we do is go to the website because, like I said, it's very comprehensive. Everything is out there. And who you should know at IDEA. Diane and I obviously are two of the people that you should know, and you can reach out to us anytime, like I said. Jake Glover, our supervisor, the senior educational consultant. Ken Riles, our president. We have 2 client development specialists that are ready to work with anyone wanting to migrate over to the IDEA CL system, and who work with new and prospective clients as well. We have a great front office staff. The processing staff is definitely the processing manager. Karen Bryant is the person that you would talk to if you have processing questions. If you're wanting to know, how do I do this or that? How do I make sure that they understand what I'm ordering? Karen is the first person you'll reach out to there. All of us, for our emails, it's just our first name at ideaedu.org. And so I'm Melissa at ideaedu.org, Diane's Diane, Karen's Karen, Jake's Jake, just like that. So we're real easy to reach out to. And on our website, there is a page that has some short bios about each of us, and you can kind of look at that and see, okay, this is who she's talking about. This is who I need to talk to. If you're wanting a campus visit, definitely reach out to Jake. Ken also does some of the campus visits, but Jake is usually the one who coordinates most of that on the back end here and does many of those. I'm going to go ahead and read Zach's question, or Zach's answer to Meg, and then I'm going to read Dr. Dunbar Swanson's question as well. So Zach says, Campus Labs provide some on-site training here as well as some webinars for faculty and staff. From my understanding, they also worked with our initial implementation team to troubleshoot potential issues during the first cycle. Yes, that's very true, Zach. Thank you. And then Myra says, part of our challenge is to distribute IDEA results before the end of each semester. Did I hear you mention a 48-hour cycle for processing? Yes, that is actually on the IDEA CL system. And the reason for that is because we're not actually having to do processing here in our processing unit. It's not waiting to be processed with the other boxes that we receive and all the downloaded IOL processing. What we do is we have worked with IDEA, or with Campus Labs, excuse me, so that we have an API that reaches out and gathers all that data, and within 48 hours the data is pushed back out to them and the reports are available. So with the IDEA CL platform, and only with that platform, you will have a 48-hour window, and then they are available, and then you choose the date that they're pushed out to faculty. And so if you're wanting them before the end of each semester, that is definitely the way to go. As I said, for the other 2 platforms, Paper and our legacy IOL system, those are done here in our processing unit. And I will also mention too that our heaviest processing seasons are between semesters in the winter and kind of goes through February, depending on when those trickle in. And then right after the spring semester, so usually it's about the beginning of May through June. Sometimes into the first or second week of July. So those are the heaviest processing seasons. And so we usually have a 10-day turnaround. What happens is, and we try to stick to that even in the heavy processing, of course. And so what happens is you send in your processing checklist so that we know that your processing boxes are on their way if you're sending papers, or so that we know to download the courses from IOL. And what happens is they're put in line pretty much, and they are processed first come, first serve, and we have that 10-day window to get them processed. And so within that 10 days of receiving your actual boxes, if you're sending paper, or receiving the processing checklist, if it's only online, then they will make sure that at the end of that 10 days, they'll do everything they can to get those out. Yes, 10 working days. Thank you, Diane. They'll do everything they can to get that out on the 10th day. And so then you have a few days shipping back to you, of course, as well. So that is definitely one of the biggest benefits with the IDSCL platform, is the quick turnaround and processing. And I'd like to kind of open it up for you, anything that you would like to bring to this conversation. This is the reason that we wanted to do this webinar. We want to know what you're doing, what questions you have. Are there things that you can share with other client contacts that are on this call who might have the need for your ideas with how do you distribute those by the end of the semester, or when do you distribute those typically? Everyone's going to have different ways of doing that, different seasons, different timelines. So anything that you want to add to this conversation, we would greatly like you to do that, because I think that our clients learn best from each other. And so these webinars give us the opportunity to do that, and to have you have these conversations that we can tell you everything we can on our end, but you're the ones on the ground on your campus doing this work. So please, anything that you would like to share, now's the time to do that. And Myra, I'm going to also add that earlier when I was talking about how people distribute with a secure online system, we found that once that is set up on your campus with your technology department, that seems to work well. I don't know all the specifics of that, but if you would like, I can put you in touch with a couple of our client contacts who do that. I can think of one right off the top of my head who has been doing this for a few years. Okay. We hope to set up an IDEA portal for faculty for instructions, tips, etc. Does IDEA have such information pre-packaged for an additional IDEA information? I'm not sure that we actually have something pre-packaged, but I will look into that. I know that our client development specialists have worked with some of that and might have something that I can send to you. I'll look back through some emails and see what I can find there. Jake may also know of something like that I can send to you. Zach's webpage, Zach, if you want to put that in, that's probably a good place to start. I've looked at other schools that have websites as well. None of them are popping into my head right now. I've looked at schools that are clients and aren't clients both, and there's some really good examples out there. And one thing I would suggest is, instead of actually putting the like if you wanted to put something out there on group summary reports, we have a guiding questions document that is good to have. And there are two of those, one for the paper and IOL processing and one for CL. And the guiding questions documents are great to have, but don't actually give them the handout. Instead, I would give them the link, because these are things that occasionally we will update. So make sure you're giving links instead of the actual papers, and that will help. Oh, okay. Zach says our website's actually currently pretty sparse, but he's compiling a collection of helpful PDFs, tutorials, guiding questions, etc. that he hopes will eventually be hosted on their official IDEA page for faculty. Yeah, I bet we know of a few here that we can look at, and maybe I'll send that in an email to all the participants that are here today. Okay, that's great, Zach. And a lot of the online NCL information will still be very viable when it comes to what everyone else may be doing. Right now, I know only a small percentage of our clients have moved to the IDSCL platform, but we expect that to grow pretty quickly in the next couple of years. So anything that you have will be very helpful over time. And like I said, we'll look and see if we can find some to send you as well. The information on our webpage is continuously being updated. In fact, we're going to be updating our webpage itself sometime very soon. And we're working on that right now. We're building that webpage. And so we will have updated information on there, and we're going to continually update the documents that we have on there. Also, if you don't follow our blog, that is a huge thing. Follow the blog. We have bi-weekly blog posts, approximately bi-weekly, and those are a big help. And anytime you have a question about anything that you go to our website, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's going to pull up a blog post that addresses those topics. And so those are great things to go back and find whenever you have any questions. And I'm going to point out too, I do have a web link at the top of the page here for a process map blog post. This is an older one from, I think it was spring of 2013. And this is a map for our legacy online system. And it's a little bit outdated, but if you look at this, this is a great place to get an idea of how to make a process map for your own campus. And this blog post is excellent in that it actually gives some ideas for how to break it out and make those decisions on your campus and make your own timelines. And so I suggest using that web link if you can. If you don't see it, just let me know and I'll copy it down into the chat.
Thank you.
If you have any suggestions for us for blog posts, let us know, because we are always looking for what our clients need and what will be most helpful for you. So please do let us know about that. Okay, we've got a question here. Okay. Eva Lewis says, I know we are moving from paper to online very soon, and I'm assuming there will be some training involved for faculty along with ensuring that students actually complete the IDEA survey. Okay, good point. And I'm going to bring up response rates here because that's one of the most frequent questions we get here. We will be helping with your training. I know you guys are a very large organization. We will be helping with your training, and we will be going in and doing trainings in several different sessions. We'll do administrator trainings for anyone who's putting everything online. We'll be doing the basic trainings that we normally do, which you can reach out to us anytime for. And I know that Ken and Jake are planning to do some very large training sessions for anyone who will be uploading your data, anyone who would be administrating those surveys. I'm not sure if they're going to be done on an administrative level in your hierarchy or if it's going to be done at each individual campus. But yes, we will absolutely be providing a lot of training for you guys. Like I said, you're a very large organization, so we will be holding your hands as you go through all that. We want to make sure it works out successfully for you. So yes, thank you for asking about that. Okay, about the students actually completing the surveys, this is where I said I'm going to go into response rates. This is a conversation we have almost every day, sometimes more than once a day. With online administration, there are a few things that are very important, and these are all on our best practices for online administration, on our website. I know there's a best practices page. There are probably a couple blog posts on this, but I'll tell you that I think there's 3 or 4 things we're always telling clients. Number 1, use your captive audience. When you're doing paper surveys, you're doing them in class. The students are used to doing them in class because that's what they've been taught. It creates a culture of assessment on your campus. They know that this is something they're going to do. They know it's expected of them, and you get 80, 90, even higher percentage response rates with paper. With any online administration, no matter what system you're on, no matter what course evaluation product you're using, the online administration still needs to happen in the classroom. You need to take advantage of that captive audience. We say to do in-class capture no matter what platform you're using, because that is going to be the #1 thing. Now, along with that, you need to support it with creating the value for the students. Show the students how this is important, why you do this, why it makes a difference to you, and why it makes a difference to your administrators and your campus. How is it used for your evaluations? We always say to use it for 30 to 50% of the teaching portion evaluation. And I can go into that more if anyone wants, but the main thing here is let your students know how you're using it and why you're using it. There are several ways to do this. Put it on your course syllabi. Let them know that this is coming up at the end of the term. Let them know that this is something that you're expecting them to do. Let them know that you have these expectations, because that makes a big difference. The course syllabi can include a mapping of the IDEA learning objectives to your course student learning outcomes. And that's important because you say, okay, this is what IDEA is going to be asking you about later, and this is how I'm using it. And so you can put those side by side on your syllabi statements. And those, pretty sure we have a blog post or two. I know we have some information about that in the best practices about that specific topic with this course syllabi. Another thing, halfway through the semester or so, show them a report. Show them what it's going to look like and why you're trying to do the things that you're doing. Tell them what you're trying to do with your learning objectives and student learning outcomes. And again, emphasize why that matters to them. When the students do their student surveys, their student ratings of instruction surveys, they are asked to base their answers on the perceptions of their own learning. And that's one thing that's really unique about IDEA is you're not asking them to evaluate their instructor in most of the questions. In fact, you're only getting that in one question, and I'll tell you exactly what that is in just a moment. But most of the questions, so on a diagnostic form of 48 questions, you're asking them in 47 questions, what their perceptions of their own learning are. And so they need to understand that this is how you understand that they have learned and what they've learned and how they learn. The question that says, is this an excellent instructor or is this an excellent class, are the other two questions. So the progress on relevant learning objectives, which is what that syllabi statement will point to, that's a big part of the student ratings of instruction survey. And so that's why that part's so important. And the PRO, or progress on relevant instructions, is actually 50% of your scores. The other 50% are those two important questions of excellent instructor or teacher and excellent course. And so those two are figured in with the PRO to make that score. And so the students really need to understand that this is about them, not just the instructor. And that makes a big difference. And like I said, show a sample report or show one of your actual reports and say, this is why we do this. This is how it affects my teaching. This is how it affects my students. And show them the outcomes of that. Say, well, if I get a lower score in this than what I'm expecting, then turn to the faculty development page and say, this page 3 of my report is showing me where I need to improve and how to do so. And on CL, they actually link directly to our websites, but on the paper reports, it shows you what you need to work on. And you can go onto our website and you can find IDEA notes for instruction and learning objectives that will tell you exactly how to strengthen yourself in those areas. And you can say, my students have said I'm great in this area, but not so great in this area. And this is what I'm doing to change that. Or this is how I'm changing the course so that I'm making sure the students are having those student learning outcomes that I'm expecting. And so show the students how that makes a difference to you, because creating that value and creating that culture on your campus goes right along with having these done in class. If they understand what they're doing and why, they are most likely going to do this. But again, they're not going to do it on their own time. They want to do it during your time. I read a couple months ago or so in a teaching professor publication, there had been a study on doing in-class survey administration versus online or outside of class. Like I said, if you do it online, make sure you're still doing it in class. But there was this study that I read about that really helped me to understand that even more, because it said students are willing to do these. They're just not willing to do it on their own time. So you will obviously get much better results if you're doing it on your time versus theirs. So you need to do it in your class. And that just goes to reaffirm everything that we tell everyone. So it was great to see that research article for me. And I've referred people to it several times. So the source for that study, like I said, it was in a teaching professor. I don't know what the actual source was, but I can send that to you, Karina. Yes, for online classes, again, another question I get a lot. A lot of online classes are asynchronous, so you're not going to be meeting with them as a group. There are a few things that you can do here, and in fact, this is something you can do with your in-class students as well, face-to-face students. The face-to-face students are expecting to do it in class, whereas the online students blow it off much more easily. But one thing that you can do is make it a 0-point assignment in their online course instrument. So like if you're using Canvas, was the example brought up earlier. If you're using Canvas, whether it's face-to-face or online class, put it in there as a 0-point assignment. They'll see that it's expected. They'll see that this is something that they can do, and that's always helpful. One thing that I have strongly suggested, and I've heard from some people that this is working for them, is at the end of the term for an online class, invite your class to a mandatory meeting, or whatever is going to work best for you. Say, I'm going to have a review session. This is mandatory. I want you to do well on your exams, or I want you to, let me know of any questions you have on a group project or paper, and bring everyone together for one mandatory meeting at the end of the semester. And at that time, send out your URL or send out the email saying, okay, this is your student ratings and instructions survey. Talk about it during that time and say, while I have you here, this is your captive audience. While I have you here, this is the time to do your survey if you have not already, and explain to them why it's important, because hearing that from your voice instead of just reading something in email will make a big difference as well, because again, that's creating the value. And so if you can, have that one meeting that's synchronous at the end of the term will very much help your response rates in that way. You're welcome, Karina. And it looks like Pam is typing again. If any of you have other questions, please go ahead and type them in, because I'd like to continue this discussion as long as you need me to. Like I said, the input we get from you is valuable to us, and it's valuable to the others in the room as well. Pam, yes, there can be that concern, but the nice thing about that is that you don't have to tell the students to go back and report that they've done it. You can just have it sitting out there as a 0-point assignment, and they don't have to go back and say that they've done it. They don't have to sign that they've done it, nothing like that. It's just out there as a reminder. And so what you can do is you can say, we don't say to incentivize, but one thing that I found is that with clients who do incentivize, the main thing is to say, I'm not going to tell you, everyone gets put in a drawing for an iPad if they've completed this, because then you're saying, okay, I want you to sign that you've completed this, or I want you to say that in that 0-point assignment or wherever that you've completed this. That kind of muddies the waters with the confidentiality part of it, and you want students to know that this is a confidential process. You're not going to know if they've done it or not. And so the important thing is, say, if you're going to incentivize at all, and like I said, we don't suggest this, but don't do it by student. You can say, if I get an 80% response rate, if I get a 90% response rate, if I get a 100% response rate, then I might give everyone in the class 6 extra points. I know that we've had someone who has done this, and he found that that helped a lot. But like I said, don't do it by student names, because that is going to make the students feel like their responses are not confidential. Even though we all know they are, they're not going to understand sometimes that it is totally confidential. Meg, in Canvas, you can require students to at least go to the website and look at the survey before they can move on to the next assignments. That's a great idea, Meg. That will show that they've gone and looked at it, but you have no idea if they've done that. And I think as long as you make that clear to the students that you are required to hit the button, that does not mean that we know that you have or have not done it. I think that's fine. I would just make sure that they know that it's still completely confidential. You don't want to tell them that you're going to know anything different, because you don't. On all of our systems, should be setting these up so that you really do not know who is and who is not, because you don't want that confidentiality to be busted, because that is one of the most important things in doing these survey administrations. Students want to know that. You're welcome, Pam. Trying to think if there are any other questions that come up to us often. We have people call and say, you know, when should I order forms? We always say just make sure you have them far enough in advance that you aren't rushing at the end. We've got people that say, when should I put everything online? We suggest getting your classes and your instructors set up early in the semester, and then adding your students after that drop deadline, because then you don't have to go back in and delete students from the two systems if they're not going to be needing to do a survey. Diane, can you think of anything that comes up a lot?
In IDEA Online, you don't do anything with the data. You trigger the processing of the processing checklist.
Okay. Yes. With IDEA Online, the legacy system, you are not going to push a button to request processing. You need, excuse me. You need to make sure that you are still doing that processing checklist and still making sure that we know that, yes, they're ready to process, but now is the time you want to process. We're not going to automatically do it for you because we don't control your budget. We don't control your timing. So if you are using the legacy IOL platform, we do need to know that you want that processing done when you want it done. And so you will still submit a processing checklist, and you submit that by email or fax. Usually it's by email now.
And you can do your paper and online at the same time.
And Diane also just pointed out to me that you can request paper and online processing at the same time if you're doing a combination of those, as long as it's the same term. And we do ask that you do different terms on different processing checklists. The group summary reports can go over more than one term. They can put things together for multiple terms, but the processing has to be done for one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. If you have other questions, please go ahead and ask them.